Welcome everyone to episode 15 of the GameBeast Podcast, where three, sometimes more, but still not yet, friends get together every week to talk about the latest in gaming news. I'm joined as ever by my good friends Kyle
Hola.
and Parky.
How's it be, bud?
Good God, you sound terrible. How are we all?
This disgrace will not stand.
Oh,
Yeah, doing good.
we good? We good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we definitely don't have any more than just three friends. We
No,
we'll
no,
never
this
get
is it.
anybody on.
This is it. No, well, we have options. It's just risky.
Yeah, definitely.
And then time is always a thing, right?
Yeah, getting everyone scheduled and not wanting to be banned off the platform. You'll have to excuse me this week. I am exhausted. I'm running on about 2 hours sleep and I've been at work all day. But we'll get through it. We'll be fine. I've eaten. Just.
Mm.
You don't sound too hot, Parky. You feeling okay?
I have not long woken up.
Excellent. That's what we want. Kyle,
Oh,
you
yeah.
sound the most peppy of all of us for the first time ever.
Yay! No, I'm doing good. I've just eaten too. So
Excellent. Anything nice?
no, just like chicken burger.
Oh, I had a turkey burger.
Oh,
Oh,
Great minds think alike.
of course. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's move on. What are we playing this week? Kyle, we'll start with you.
just like I'll be honest, I've only played like a bit of RuneScape and that was it. I
Is
literally.
it RuneScape?
Well, yeah, it's like I haven't played in this. I've had a really just busy week with everything.
Yeah.
So it's like I haven't even had any downtime in the evenings. It's been constantly going, so I haven't turned the PlayStation on in like a week and a half or something like that. So
Good God.
I know.
Oof. Misery. Arky, you been enjoying anything?
Bit of everything, really. I've even started going back to old games. Like I started playing
Pomba?
COD Zombies again.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which one?
Forsaken, Easter egg and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, been enjoying that.
Doing it
Playing a bit of
solo?
Rocket League still. Yeah, solo. Yeah,
Is
always.
there anyone else still playing?
Very unlikely.
Very unlikely. Yeah.
Everyone's gone to the new COD, haven't they? And it's like, nah.
Well, you say that, but it's just been revealed that Elden Ring has now overtaken Call of Duty Vanguard in sales. So in 2 months, Elden Ring has sold more than Vanguard has in total, and that's incredibly impressive considering Call of Duty is usually the best-selling game every year.
I think it's because every content creator was probably playing it, weren't they? Even people that don't normally play it,
definitely.
sort of playing it. So
It's important to note though, this vindicates From Software in the sense that when I say everyone, the loud minority was, you need to include easy modes, you need to be accessible. Obviously not.
I mean, the game is kind of an easy mode in itself.
If you play it the right way, you can make it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
We won't
nice.
go down that rabbit hole today.
It's just nice to finally have a game that doesn't have any like loads of microtransactions or ads or anything built into it.
Yeah, it is a complete
Refreshing.
experience, and it is phenomenal. I'm assuming you're still playing that as well, Parky.
I'm actually on it right now.
Excellent.
Doing my final playthrough, and like you said, with easy mode, big shield,
Yeah.
Mogwin spear. Yeah, ain't nothing touching me.
Thrash it. Beat my 3 hours. Go. What have I been playing this week? I've still been playing Curse of the Dead Gods. Still really good. You know, I thought I'd it pulled a Dragon Quest on me. I thought I'd finished it, and then it was like, oh, there's more. Okay. But now I'm stuck. It's really, really hard. I thought, oh yeah, I'm really good at this. It's like a roguelike skill-based action RPG, if you will. I thought, oh, I'm really good at this. I'm flying through these. I got all the way to what I thought was the last boss, beat it. I was like, oh yes, I'm actually good at games now. And then it turned out that's not the last boss. That was just the last boss of chapter 1. Fuck. So there's more to that game, but I am enjoying it, and it was free on PS Plus, so no complaints.
It's always good.
I've also bought a new game, but we'll talk about that later on because it was part of the 505 Games showcase. So I have it downloaded and ready to play. I may start that tomorrow. But we'll get onto that later. So, if we're all ready, should we move on to the news?
News.
Okay, right. So, gents, have you heard? Xbox has no games.
Again.
I have
Starfield.
heard.
Starfield and Redfall have been delayed. On the 12th of May, Bethesda's Twitter account put out the dreaded delay JPEG a la Cyberpunk style. It's official. Starfield and Redfall have been delayed until the first half of 2023, leaving Xbox with no first-party games for the rest of the year. In fact, the only Xbox first-party games that have released this year have both been on PlayStation, and that's not technically true. When I wrote this, I forgot that Deathloop came out last year, but whatever. So the exclusive this year was Ghostwire Tokyo. So I will read. I haven't prepared at all. Good God. I will read out the JPEG as I furiously scatter my way through files. Here we go. Right. So, quote, we've made the decision to delay the launch of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. The teams at Arcane Austin for Redfall and Bethesda Game Studios for Starfield have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support. End quote. So, big news. Is this... Well... No, hang on. Before we get onto that, I want to read Phil Spencer's apology because he was very quick to follow up with this because there was a huge outrage all over social media on multiple platforms. So, Phil Spencer, quote, "These decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams the time to release these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work better. Fucking hell, I can't read today. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations." Oh, so is this a bad look for Xbox? That's what I want to discuss first.
Lucky.
What do you reckon, Kyle? What are your thoughts on this?
When did Forza come out? That was earlier than
Last year,
That was last
November,
year,
I
wasn't
think. Yes,
So
it
they've
was
had
around the
no-
same time as Halo,
So they've had no first party games this year other than
Ghostwire, which was for PlayStation exclusively.
Hmm.
Timed exclusive, may I add.
Well, it was for Xbox, you mean?
There's been nothing for Xbox
Right.
at all.
At all. Okay.
First party wise.
Well, that sucks.
It
Jeez.
does suck. Genuinely, Starfield was potentially the reason I was going to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, it would have been the
And
PlayStation killer game sort of thing.
yeah, it would have definitely consumed my time. It is scale bound all over again because back in the day on Xbox One, I was poised, ready to buy an Xbox One. I had the cash ready. I was waving it about. I was like, yep, this is going to be it. And then out of nowhere, Phil comes along and crushes my dreams, cancels Scalebound, and nothing else for that console even tempted me in the slightest. And now, the next tempting title, which was purchased, was Starfield, and it's been delayed. So I guess I'm just going to hang on to my cash for, I don't know, another 6, 7, 8, 9 months, whatever.
Years.
Years, maybe. Who knows?
So Starfield is basically the sort of Skyrim in space kind of thing, right?
Skyrim in space, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe it's more appropriate to say Fallout in space, because at least that has guns.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was probably bound to be a good game, but because of this news, do we anticipate that there'll be like an exclusive Skyrim DLC release, or an Xbox One only release, just to kind of cap it off? I mean,
GTA 5 re-release.
essentially
Release.
GTA 5 and like Skyrim have done the same thing. They've released for like every console imaginable with about 8 editions each, and
Yeah, they've been on every generation from the PS3, Xbox 360. I don't think that they would have had the foresight to do that. I don't think they've got the resources to do that, as big as Bethesda are. If they're struggling to release Starfield, which was announced how many years ago now? 5 years ago? Maybe?
before the console, I think.
It was definitely before the console. If they're struggling to get this out on a date that they set in stone almost a year ago, it was almost a year ago they gave the 11/11 date.
Yeah, which was
11/11
after
2022.
most COVID complications as well. That's
Yep.
when everybody had learned to live with it. Everyone was either working from home or people were back in the offices.
I don't think that they have the resources to, let's slap something extra onto Skyrim for Xbox only. There's no way. That game barely runs as it is. If they added anything else into it, then they would break the entire game.
Darth Vader mod.
Yeah. It was 2018 they announced Starfield. 2018. I know Bethesda takes its time, but that's a long gestation period for such a huge developer.
I mean, it's a shame really, because it looked like it was going to be a good game. It was sort of ticking all the right
It did.
boxes. So it's
Well,
it's
did
a
it?
shame
Because
that
we
it
haven't
failed,
actually think back. We haven't actually seen anything.
No,
Like
but
we've seen concept art and we've seen the concept video. We haven't actually seen gameplay, which is what I assume they're going to show at the Summer Games Fest. Not
yeah,
Summer
but
Games Fest, sorry, the Xbox Summer Showcase.
I mean, all they need is Skyrim in space or Fallout in space. That's fine.
Yeah.
that sort of says enough. It's like, oh hey, it's an RPG, but it's going to set around space.
Yeah.
Probably be like a
So
Mass Effect, No Man's Sky kind of morphy crossover.
yeah, well, hopefully. So
Hopefully it's done right.
hopefully we don't know. We haven't seen anything. That's the problem. What do you reckon, Parky? Do you think this is a bad look for Xbox as a whole?
Yeah, I was feeling for them like when they had limited games, but now they've got none.
I mean,
That's
recall
pretty bad.
how many weeks ago was it I said that there's no way that Redfall's coming out this year, and
Yeah.
I was right
I
because
just
we
like
haven't
to-
seen
It was
anything.
like-
Anything we've seen of Redfall looked like trash.
I'd just like to jump in though and say,
Yeah.
but it's all fine though, remember, because they've got Game Pass. And Game Pass obviously makes everything the best console ever, and
The only problem is promising day and date games requires games.
Yeah.
it does.
So you can say, oh, you'll get day and date first party games. When? When will you get first party day and date games? When? Next year? The first couple of months? When? Who knows? Because it keeps getting delayed. And Halo was released too early. That should have been delayed another year. Forza was really good, so I hear. Forza's in fact the only game that has had no controversy surrounding it because it came out pristine. Nothing wrong with it. No bugs.
It came
Nothing.
out finished.
Yeah.
It came out finished. It came out well done. And Playground Games are allegedly working on the next Fable. There's a rumor. Whether or not they'll be able to translate their like immaculate track record from a racing game to a fantasy RPG, who knows? I'd assume so. I'm assuming they wouldn't put it in the hands of a studio that's incapable of making that style of game. But it can only mean good things that their contribution to the Xbox ecosystem was flawless. So, in a few years' time when Fable is due, then it should be great.
Yeah, Fable's probably a reason I would buy an Xbox.
That would also be another reason I'd buy an Xbox, because I really, really enjoyed the Fable games on the 360.
Yeah, the original one was great. The second
Yeah.
one was alright. So
They were good.
The third
games.
one went a bit downhill, didn't it?
yeah, I
Was it
didn't
the
really
third?
play the third one.
Yeah, I didn't really like that one.
I think it peaked with
Um,
2. Fable 2 was.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's typical with trilogies, isn't it? The first one's great, the second one improves, and then the third one tanks it.
Yeah.
Same with the Matrix.
Oh.
Oh. Okay, so we've established this is a bad look for Xbox. I think we're all in unanimous agreement with that. But what have the Xbox studios been doing all this time? Have we got any inclination? I mean, we don't even before the acquisitions, before the Bethesda acquisition, before the Activision acquisition, which hasn't yet completed. It's due to complete June, July. Own studios. We've seen 343's contribution, not great. Well, arguably, but we won't go too deep into that. We've seen Playground Games' contribution, flawless, but it's out now, and it's a multiplayer online racer, so it's a niche-ish market, I guess.
Yeah.
Kyle, what do you reckon they've been doing? Where are all the games?
Well, not on Xbox apparently.
Well,
Um,
no.
Yeah,
yeah.
they've all come to PlayStation.
For instance, like,
PC.
where's Gears of War?
I don't know.
Another flagship title for Xbox. Where is it?
It seems like they had this sort of. It sounds like they had a roadmap out, and they were like, right, we'll make the acquisition, and then it's going to be okay because this game will release here, which will lead
Mhm.
people, 6 months down the line, and then maybe this first party or third party developer will release this. And it doesn't have to be an exclusive, but it's kind of it's going to sell well on the Xbox, so they kind of chain them
Yeah.
together. But I don't think.
And if it doesn't,
Yeah, it sounds like they haven't got a backup plan where, oh no, one of them has been delayed. So now you'll have 2 games launching maybe in the same sort of time frame, which will probably tank sales for both.
Yeah, cannibalize each other.
And then a big sort of gap in the market for however long where people might just get a bit bored and either buy a PlayStation or just, not renew Xbox, their online service if they pay monthly, or they might. I mean, it might be good for Game Pass. Game Pass sales might go up, but I think everybody that I know that already has an Xbox and plays online has Game Pass already.
Yeah.
So,
I think to your point about a backup plan, I think the Bethesda acquisition was the backup plan.
Well, that
Because
backfired.
well, yeah, they look forward and they look forward ahead in the calendar and they think, right, well, this isn't going to be ready, this isn't going to be ready, this isn't going to be ready, and these are all unknown games because we don't know what they've announced. Well, because they haven't announced it. So we need something to fill the gap. So let's mosey on down to ZeniMax, Bethesda. Let's go buy them, and then we'll have them games. And then Todd Howard's like, "Yep, don't worry, 11/11/22, we got you." And also Redfall at some point, we got you. Don't worry, you can have 2 games for 2022. And then Phil Spencer's just like, "Yes, nice one. Let's do the deal. Give you hundreds and hundreds of millions of billions of dollars even." And then Todd kind of like shuffles into Phil Spencer's office with his head down.
We need more time.
And he goes, "Phil, we've got that summer showcase." And Phil's like, "Yes, Todd." And then Todd just kind of like looks up. It's like, "Well, sorry, Uncle Phil, but we're not going to make the November date." "What? What do you mean you're not going to make the November date? Todd? Don't tell me, Todd. Say it ain't so, Todd. Sorry, Uncle Phil. Sorry, we'd really tried. What about Redfall? Starfield's cancelled. Not Starfield's delayed, but what about Redfall? Phil, no one gives a fuck about Redfall, but we've delayed that too."
That's exactly how
Sorry,
I see it
Phil.
going now.
God damn it, Todd. What are we going to do for the summer? I don't know, Phil. We'll slap some demos together.
That's it. Cinematic trailers. Everybody loves a cinematic trailer with no gameplay, right? Right?
Yeah.
Please.
Todd, you told me the lack of gameplay wasn't a problem. You told me.
That's
So.
funny.
Parky, where are all the games, Parky? Where are they?
On PC and PlayStation, it seems. They've, I don't know. I think with all the acquisitions and that happening, developers have just put a hold on most of their projects because they're not sure if they're going to be bought out here or what. So they're like, you know what?
Microsoft gonna burst in with their
Uh,
massive wallet.
They're like, yeah, we're just going to wait, see what happens. And it's like, okay, so they're not buying us yet.
No. That's just. All right. Okay. Compose myself. I'm no longer Phil. Right. Okay. Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. The question needs to be asked, and I'm going to turn to you for this, Parky, first, because you're the most cynical of us all. Do we think that Xbox has a chronic problem with delays and cancellations and just lack of a catalogue, first party wise? And is that chronic problem down to the talent of the studios? Is it down to management? Is it down to Phil Spencer? What do you reckon? Is there a chronic problem, first off?
Yeah, I mean, the Xbox, well, I say Xbox specifically, but most of the bigger names have been known to just straight up delay a lot of things or even cancel. Like when it comes to Microsoft, they try to do everything straight away and quick and let's get it done and dealt with, and just ends up going wrong. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's for such a big company, like a well-known name as well.
Yeah.
To suffer so much.
Big tech company, the biggest tech company in the world.
To suffer with something like a deadline.
It's wild. In fact, you say big tech company, and I have a list here of Xbox's first party studios, and I'll just reel through this real quick, just to give us a scope of what we're dealing with. We've got 343 with Halo, Activision Blizzard, pending, obviously Call of Duty, Alpha Dog, not sure on them, Arcane, so Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop, which came on PlayStation, Redfall, which was delayed from Arcane, Bethesda Game Studios, obviously Starfield, the Coalition, they're behind Gears of War, they've been very quiet, although allegedly there's rumours of a Gears of War remaster trilogy, like the Master Chief Collection. But again, that's just a rumor. So maybe that's what the Coalition's working on. Compulsion Games, they came out with We Happy Few. They were just acquired after the game had practically been finished anyway, which seems to be a trend. All fine, they're behind Psychonauts again. Psychonauts 2, sorry. Again, they were acquired right at the end of the development period. The Initiative, that was the studio we spoke about a while ago, where all the staff had left, and Crystal Dynamics have come in to try and help with the Perfect Dark reboot. They're in trouble, obviously. We've already spoke about that. id Software behind Doom and Quake. I'm sure whatever they're going to pump out is going to be excellent. They've never gone wrong. Unless they do under Microsoft management, we'll see. Exile Entertainment? Never heard of them. They're behind the Wasteland game. That's a good game. I had no idea that. Oh yeah, they were part of Bethesda, weren't they? Okay, fair enough. Machine Games, they're behind Wolfenstein. Their last entry was terrible. Maybe they'll get back on track. Who knows? Mojang, obviously behind Minecraft, but they're just the Minecraft studio. Ninja Theory behind Hellblade 2. That looked pretty good, but I'm not sure how much gameplay is going to be in the game. The first game was like a puzzle walking simulator with light combat. I think the second will be the same, but either way, really, really nice looking game. Playground Games, we spoke about them briefly today already. Rare, they put out Sea of Thieves. Apparently Sea of Thieves is a very popular game on Xbox, but it would be when it's the only one that's out. Roundhouse Studios, that's a new studio. They haven't got anything announced. Tango Gameworks behind The Evil Within. They also released Ghostwire Tokyo, but again, exclusive for PS Plus. Exclusive for PS5, sorry. Turn 10, they're behind Forza Motorsport, not Forza Horizon. We are expecting Forza Motorsport. Apparently, well, some people said this year, but there's just no way. There's no way. So it's probably going to come next year. Undead Labs, State of Decay. State of Decay. It's not that noteworthy, I don't think. And also, they've had some troubles with management internally, reportedly recently. Surprise, surprise. World's Edge, they're behind Age of Empires. Had no idea Microsoft owned them. I probably should have done because it seems really obvious now. Xbox Game Studios, Xbox Game Studios themselves, they were behind Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's not a game. I don't care what you say. ZeniMax Online, The Elder Scrolls Online, obviously. That is just they'll continue to support The Elder Scrolls Online, but that's it. That's all their studios. That's their first party studios. And of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 studios, where are all the games? Well, do you think, whose fault do you think this is, Parky? Stick with you for now.
It's hard to do something like cast a lot of blame like all towards. I would personally say it was probably down to the unknown, like the publishers, like the main. You can always blame the head, but at the same time, it's like with so much staff like swapping hands, and they're just.
That is true, but you've got 20 plus studios, which all seem to be suffering from the same chronic problem of not delivering. Surely that's got to have something to do with management. Surely. Because they wouldn't all individually just coincidentally suffer from bad scheduling, would they?
Like I said, man, it's hard to say. Scheduling plays a massive part in it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. What do you reckon, Kyle?
Right?
I mean, it's. I'd say it's all for the time being. It's Bethesda's problem because they said, "Hey, this is a set date in stone," and now they've gone back on it. But then also, you never know what might happen behind the scenes. Like, there's been numerous times in past histories where it's been known that the games have been delayed because the studio that owns them, rather than the developer, has said, "Hey, look, we want you to add this to the game," or "No, we want this removing." And anybody that works in the industry will know if you try and remove something that adds something to the game in a rush, you get a load of bugs, and then those bugs can't be fixed because they affect a load of other stuff, and then you kind of end up with like a cyberpunk kind of issue where you try and add too much or take away too much in one go, and it just breaks the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you mentioned Cyberpunk because I think Jason Schreier, formerly of Kotaku, now writes for Bloomberg. He interviewed someone anonymously, and I think they were working at Bethesda, and they quoted the next Cyberpunk in relation to the delay. So I think you bang on there referencing Cyberpunk because I think maybe if Bethesda was still independent, or at least ZeniMax were independent because Bethesda was part of ZeniMax, then I think this game would have come out 11/11/22. Because which Bethesda game in recent history has released bug-free? Answer for you. None of them.
None, yeah, except maybe some of the very original Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. So
I mean,
maybe this delay has happened because Microsoft own them. So management has stepped in and said, that's not good enough, fix it. But at the same time, where were they months ago to say, don't announce a release date, this isn't ready, fix it. And maybe don't announce a summer showcase just before you're going to announce the delay. Fix it, get people's hopes up. So, I don't know, what do you reckon, Carl? Who do you think not necessarily the blame, but what do you think the problem is here? Is it with the individual studio? It's all well and good saying this could be a Bethesda problem, but 343 has obviously suffered as well because they released half of Halo.
It's hard to like pick. I think is my problem.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Think
Pass.
pass.
Come back to me.
I think ultimately the responsibility lies with Phil Spencer. He is the head of Xbox Game Studios. So even though it may not be directly his fault,
Yeah.
he hasn't managed. He hasn't managed the management level below him, who haven't managed the management level below them, who haven't managed their individual teams or team leaders, and those team leaders haven't managed their teams. The communication breakdown, but ultimately he's the head, he's responsible. If something isn't going right, he has the authority to step in. He has the authority to delegate someone to step in.
But then how
Even
often do you actually see the proper like heads of the people, the CEOs of the company actively
you
get
say
involved?
this, but he all over social media. He was at Bethesda Game Studios. He was playing these games, and it was the typical press release. Oh yeah, this looks great. Did it look great? You don't know because we haven't seen it yet. You've seen it. If you've seen it ages ago, I mean, you put the boot up someone's arse and say, right, hire more staff. Not necessarily crunch, because crunch is bad. We get that. Oh no, we've lost someone. Anyway, I'll carry on. Oh god, he's fallen asleep.
Yeah.
Anyway, crunch is bad.
Yeah.
We get that. Even though I do overtime, you do overtime, it's arguable. As long as you're getting paid for your overtime and it doesn't take over your life, some overtime is okay. But crunch, I understand, different. Hire more staff. You've got the money. Microsoft has infinite money. So you need to hire more, do more work, fix the game, get it ready. If they want to announce a release date, they need to make sure they're going to get that release date, especially in a year like this year where Xbox fans were relying on Redfall and they were relying on Starfield to have some first party offerings.
Yep.
Some people may have subbed to Game Pass specifically for Starfield. I know that sounds ridiculous, but some people will do it, and then they'll enjoy all the games that are on there in the meantime.
Yeah.
I would say it may not be. You might not be able to say to Phil Spencer, "This is all your fault." You can say to Phil Spencer, "What were you doing?
Yeah.
How did you not
why
notice
has
this?"
problem happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Fair
So.
enough.
He was playing Xbox games, obviously.
Just finally, sticking on the Xbox theme, I don't know if either of you two have seen this, but the Xbox Ambassador program is like a community-driven way for players to get involved in effectively tech support. It's like free labor for Microsoft. You sign up to be an ambassador, and you quite literally get an RSS feed of complaint tweets to Microsoft, and then you deal with them for free. You also earn rewards, and they send you stuff, and if you do a lot of work for them, they send you plaques and nice controllers, and you get to be part of the marketing if you're prominent enough. But there was an Xbox ambassador, Miss Deus Geek, and very nice lady. Let me start off with that. Very nice. However, she made the mistake of straying into the console war by defending Phil in relation to the delays. Obviously, the fanboys flocked from both sides, either for or against. Some of the Xbox fanboys who have gone rogue and like, nah, fuck Phil, this is bullshit now. They were having a go at her. Sony ponies having a go at her. Xbox fanatics defending her. What she essentially said was that she is a gamer and she's an ambassador and she had opinions and people disagreed with those opinions, like, oh, could you run a multi-trillion-dollar company? No, and neither can Phil, frankly. But the point is, she claimed to be a gamer, and then she walked back on that and says, oh, I don't really play games, I don't really have the time, but I watch my boyfriend play games. And then people went wild and said, well, you're not a gamer. And then she continued and said, oh, what is this attack me. I'm not going to say a real name. Attack Me Day. And then people again went after her and said, well, don't say you're a gamer if you don't play games. And then it evolved to, well, I can say I'm a gamer. I'm involved in the community. Why can't I be a gamer? So, and then on top of that, she was caught lying on her because she's a YouTuber as well. She, in multiple videos, she says, "Oh, Quake, for instance." She was on about Quake. Oh, I was so excited when Quake came to the Xbox console. I downloaded it straight away and I played it for a few hours and it brought back all the memories. And then someone checked her Xbox ID and she's actually played it for 30 minutes. And then there was another game, and I forget which one it was, and she mentions on how in depth she'd played it for multiple hours. And then someone checked her ID again, and she'd played it for an hour. A gamer score is, I don't know, gamer score doesn't mean much, because if you play a multiplayer game all year until the next multiplayer game, you're going to have a very low gamer score. But people did quite rightly point out that she's only got a gamer score of like 5,000, which I understand you can get from like playing 5 games to completion. So, what I want to ask is, Kyle, what constitutes a gamer?
Somebody who plays games and enjoys them more than a casual player would.
Right.
Because I feel
It's
like
interesting you say that, because I
if you were
agree.
a casual player, you wouldn't describe yourself as a gamer. Because people that play on the occasion would just not really mention it because they've got other things going on. They'd come home, they'd play a couple of hours of something, and then they'd just carry on.
Yes.
And, you know, they wouldn't mention it in conversation. They'd be like, oh yeah, last night I played this.
Mhm.
They'd just sort of do it to kind of unwind. At least that's personally what I reckon.
Yeah.
And maybe a gamer is somebody that takes pride in the fact that, or, you know, they play it as a hobby, where it's not just on the occasion, it's every so often, or they schedule it in, or, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you've definitely got casual gamers that are gamers, and you've got hardcore gamers. But the difference between a gamer and a non-gamer can simply be somebody that'll tell you that they play games, or they have, you know, a few games that they play, whereas somebody that's not bothered but might play it for fun.
Yeah.
Like,
The pin in the fact you mentioned pride, because I want to come back to that.
well, it's like,
And I think it's important. I think it's a very important point about pride.
it's like I wouldn't class anybody that plays Candy Crush as a gamer unless they specifically mention that they are level, you know, 2074. They are proud of it. If that's something
if
that
they
they
are
feel
like
like they've achieved,
hardcore.
yeah. If it's something they've spent time on, then yeah, that's what it's time and pride, I guess.
Okay. So, Parky, we'll come back to Kyle's pride point in a moment. But what do you think constitutes a gamer, Parky?
Well, personally, it's a hobby, isn't it? It's something that you spend a lot of your time and a lot of your like Carl said, pride, man. You gotta be like, you would go out your way to say to people, "Oh, have you played this game?" You go out your way to see the new releases and and it would be something that you're excited to do when you get home, excited to just sort of sit down and spend hours doing. Like, if you go on there and you spend 10 minutes and you're bored, then I would consider that as being a gamer.
I would say you could also say that if you've actively gone out and bought a game, so you've spent money on a game and then been disappointed in it, that would make you a gamer. I think every gamer has spent money on a game or looked forward to something and then it's just been thrown in their face and like, wow, did I really waste money on this? I think that's the definition of a game.
Yes. I mean, you've both made excellent points. I'm very pleased with what you've said. Top marks.
But you're wrong.
So, no, you're both absolutely spot on. It comes down to, for me, investment, pride, and participation. So, yes, pride, absolutely. People are saying, "Oh, you're gatekeeping by saying being part of the community and watching your boyfriend play games isn't being a gamer. Well, gatekeeping is it's not even it's not a necessary evil, because I don't think gatekeeping is necessarily evil. Gatekeeping can be evil if it's discriminatory, but gatekeeping is necessary for all things. Are you going to say that someone who has absolutely no qualifications whatsoever should be allowed to become a doctor? Because if they're not allowed, then that's gatekeeping. Absolutely not, no. Is a professional hockey player allowed to go and play American football because they are a professional athlete in one sense? No, because they don't know how to play professional American football. That is gatekeeping technically, but it's not evil. So gatekeeping in the sense of gaming, I don't think if you watch your boyfriend play and you take part in a gaming community that you are a gamer. I think you're a fan of games,
Yeah.
and I think that's a difference.
That's exactly
A fan of games, yeah, you're a fan of games, and that's fine. You can be a fan of games. The point is, she called herself a gamer and then wondered why people hit back at her. And I think it's that exact point that you made, Kyle. It's pride. Gamers take pride in the fact that they're a gamer. They take pride in their achievements. They take pride in their trophies. Most people, not most people, some people do. Some people take pride in the niche games they've played. Some people take pride in the multiplayer achievements they've made. Some people just take pride in the fact that they've been able to finish a game. And investment. She, by all accounts, with such a meager library which has been shown, has not made a substantial investment in gaming. My bookshelf downstairs, it's not a bookshelf, it's my game shelf. There is thousands of pounds worth of games on that shelf. And then obviously the consoles. Thousands of pounds just on one TV unit. There's the investment.
Essentially,
And then the participation.
What she doesn't understand is that it's like if you go to the cinema to watch a movie, I will go and watch movies, but I'm not a fan of the movies. Somebody that's a fan of going to the cinema, will be like into their movie buffs. They'll read up on all the, all the lingo and all that sort of stuff, and they will be a fan of pictures, and they'll delve into.
They'll know who the
lighting
director is. They'll know what team worked on. They'll know what studios
exactly.
specialize in.
They're
We
like,
know
"Oh," and I'm
about
like, "Oh, that was
game
alright."
dev studios. Yeah, exactly. We know about game dev studios. I have no idea about film studios.
Ultimately, though, it's basically just like watching Twitch. If you go on Twitch and you watch somebody play a game, it doesn't mean you're a gamer. It just means you can enjoy the content, but you're not playing it, so you're not a gamer. As simple as that, really.
Let me read this out because this is a specific two comments she made, and these are the comments that really sparked off the controversy. So, a high gamer score isn't a requirement to be an ambassador, nor does it mean I don't get games. I don't play much, but I watch my partner who's clocked hundreds of hours on his Xbox. That's how I got involved in games. Finally, I've never said I love Xbox because of their games. I've always loved Xbox because of what they do with gaming for everyone. Their custom controller designs, and the number one reason, the community. So after this, I might have to rethink the wide definition of community. So, people kicked back at this to say they're not a gamer. And you're just a fan of games. And that's okay, but don't call yourself a gamer because there is pride attached to being a gamer. Because when we grew up, and even this extends to you, Carl, even though you're a bit younger than me, gaming wasn't in the zeitgeist. Gaming wasn't the mainstream when we grew up as kids. We've struggled through childhood loving something, loving a hobby that you couldn't necessarily outwardly speak about to everyone. You'd find friends that were also gamers, but it would be your private conversation. Now, gaming is everywhere. Gaming's cool. Gaming's the main topic on young people's lips. It's completely different. For the audience that has gone through the childhood and the teenage years of really enjoying a hobby that isn't necessarily in the mainstream, to then have someone else come along and say, "Oh, I'm a gamer too," and no, you're not. You're a fan, and that's okay. I like films. I'm not a movie critic by any stretch of the imagination. I really like games. I'm not a game critic. I have opinions on games. That doesn't make me a game critic. So, yes.
Well, now we've cleared that up.
Now
We
we've
should
cleared
move
that
on.
up. Let's move on. Okay, so Final Fantasy turns 35 this year. Did we know? Created in January 1987 by Japanese publisher Squaresoft, now Square Enix. First installment of the long-running JRPG series is playable on the Nintendo Entertainment System before migrating to the Sony PlayStation for its 7th installment. We have now reached Final Fantasy's 35th year, and with Final Fantasy 16 on the horizon, let's take a moment to look back on the history of Final Fantasy before looking forwards to its future, and try to appreciate how lucky we are the Final Fantasy series ever came about. To quote Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the FF series, this is a direct quote, "There was a time when I wasn't happy with anything I was creating. I thought of retiring from the game industry, and I created Final Fantasy as my final project. That's why the title includes the word final. But for me, the title Final Fantasy reflects my emotional state at the time and feeling that time had stopped. They say that technologically it's good to keep going, and each time we give it our all and expend our skills and energy until we can go no further. This is what I consider to be the Final Fantasy." So, this was a last-ditch attempt by the godfather of Final Fantasy to just make a game that was good. Thank God he did, in my opinion. So we already spoke about Final Fantasy 16 last week. But where do we want to see this series go in the future? And I'm going to start with you, Kyle, because you are not as not as much as a fanboy as me and Parky in Final Fantasy, but you do enjoy some of them.
I would
For you,
like a 15 kind of, not a sequel, but essentially I'd like, I don't know. I mean, I want to just say, oh yeah, just make basically what they did with 15 and just make a new game. Because it was open world, it was good, but it was one of those where the world was a bit too open. It was very much a you
very
can
empty.
travel from it was empty. You travel from point A to point B, and yes, you can go wherever you want, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But then I also like aspects from 12 with like the Gambit system and the license system and all that sort of stuff. So maybe just that. But yeah, maybe honestly just do 15 and just slap a new title on it and new characters and stuff. And that's kind of what I like about Final Fantasy.
Good stuff. Okay. Aki, what about you? Where do you want to see the series go? Do you want to see it return to its roots? Do you want to see it continue on the trajectory it's going? Trajectory is really hard to say when you're tired. Jesus.
Like, I really like the original, like
Turn-based
6,
style.
7, even up to 9, where it was like graphics were better, but it was like, still fun. But I kind of like where it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, I like the open world theme. I like what they did with the remake of Final Fantasy 7.
Mm-hmm.
That was insane. But I want it to sort of stick to the roots where it is with the 7 remake.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. In fact, exactly what I was going to say. Before Final Fantasy VII Remake, I would have said I want to go back to turn-based. Equivocally, just turn-based. I love turn-based games. But Final Fantasy VII Remake came, and it was like, make it an action game. I was like, oh. At first, I thought, oh god, no, I don't want it to be an action game. But then they introduced somehow elements of turn-based into an action RPG, and it was genius. You've played Final Fantasy VII Remake, haven't you, Kyle?
No.
Think.
Mm.
Yeah. So the idea that the turn-based element, or at least the strategy part of turn-based combat, comes in by just almost freezing time, but not quite, is perfect. That is the perfect compromise for me, and I would like to see series continue in that vein, I think. So much to Kyle's opinion that open world, but maybe more dense rather than sparse.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that form of action RPG with the strategic elements rather than the button mashy nature that 15 was, because that's all it really was. Oh, you just mash square and press triangle every so often to warp. Yeah, I agree with you, Parker. I'd like to see it continue down the path that Final Fantasy VII Remake took us, because I think that was really good, and even expand on it somehow. Whether or not we implement some form of, in fact, it could be improved with like a gambit system from 12, where yes, you can still control your eye, but also maybe you could string together some gambits and make some really clever AI, if you will, to control their behavior when you're not directly controlling them. I think that'd be really interesting. Okay. Also, on sticking with the Final Fantasy VII theme, Square Enix apparently, and this broke about 5 minutes ago, or at least 5 minutes before the start of the show. Square Enix will apparently be making various Final Fantasy VII announcements next month, in line with the 25th anniversary of the original game, as in the original Final Fantasy VII. So, Marky, any predictions? What do you think? Final Fantasy spin-offs, Final Fantasy Remake Part 2?
Part 2, I reckon that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another movie.
The movie. Oh,
Advent
God.
Children was a masterpiece, to be fair.
Advent Children was fantastic. Yeah, it was. Kyle, have you seen Advent Children?
I think I have, yeah.
Hey! Good. What do you reckon, Kyle? What do you reckon we're going to see? Anything spring to mind?
No, I don't know. It's
No,
out of my realm.
fair enough. A while ago, we saw that infographic of characters from Crisis Core, do you remember? And that never kind of went anywhere. Not that I've seen anyway. So I think yes, we'll see Remake Part 2, hopefully, or at least something of it. A title, maybe not any gameplay. A title for Remake Part 2, because we haven't seen that yet. I'd also like to see Crisis Core, even before Crisis. Effectively, I want Zack Fair on console because I never had a PSP. I played it. I loved Crisis Core during the very limited opportunities I had to play it. I really want to play that game. I want a Crisis Core remaster, remake, whatever. Anything. I want that game on console. I'm really hoping that's going to be one of the announcements. But anyway, we'll move on. Try and keep this snappy. So I called it. Kind of. Silent Hill is set to return. Maybe. Images appear to show a new British Silent Hill. Images shared by a known industry insider have since been removed in a copyright claim filed by Konami. Aesthetic Gamer, previously known as Dust Golem, posted 4 images of what they claimed were a Silent Hill leak. The images show a messy room, a red corridor with notes covering the walls, and a figure standing at the end. And a woman's face that has been partially unpeeled with messages like "I hate myself" and "Minga," a very British insult for sure. Masahiro Ito is reportedly working on the project, which is good news for the game, since he's best known as the original monster designer for the Silent Hill franchise. So, there's a little link here. I don't know if either of you looked at it, but these are the leaked images for the Silent Hill game. We have a summary of the details for the Silent Hill leak. I'll just whip through this real quickly. So it's a joint production that seems to involve several studios. Sony's reportedly involved, possibly exclusive, maybe timed exclusive, who knows, but from Dusk's past tweets it may only be marketing rights. Screenshots are from the 2020 build, so these are 2 years old. Supposedly Masahiro Ito is attached to the project, which we just mentioned. Ito confirmed on Twitter back in January 2020 that he's working on a project that he hopes won't get cancelled this time, whatever that means. Probably worked on the original Silent Hills with Kojima. In 2021, Ito confirmed that the project was still in development. Dusk posted concept art dated 2020 with Ito's signature that matches the hallway screenshot. Dusk seemed to imply that it's possibly that this game has already been canned or will be and is not sure, so hopefully this won't get cancelled. Dusk supposedly has 30 screenshots and some artwork from Ito. Hallway screenshot apparently heavily suggests a certain game mechanic that Dusk thinks is spoilery. Whatever that means. How can a hallway spoil the story? I don't know. The player being sent SMS messages was originally a planned feature in Silent Hills, per Alana Pierce, YouTube former IGN personality. And Dust seems to reference it. So you're playing the game and you're supposed to get text messages to your phone to like immerse you in the game. That would have been pretty cool. The Japanese text in the last screenshot was translated by various Twitter users, and it apparently has to do with a mother neglecting her children. So that is it for that. Do we think these screenshots are real? Do we think the Silent Hill game exists that's in development? Kyle, what do you reckon?
I'd like it to be in development. I mean, it seems like everything's pointing towards a sort of, well, a leak. Maybe it's an orchestrated leak, maybe.
No, like an
Intentional leak,
intentional, yes,
just to get a bit
marketing
of word
purposes.
going, and then say, "Ha, look, you caught us out. Here you go."
Oh
Little
no, we
screenshot.
better give you more details.
Yeah. No, it'd be nice to see Silent Hill make a comeback, actually.
I agree. Hang on, I'm just typing, which hopefully isn't too disruptive. But anyway, Parky, what do you reckon? Do you think this is real?
I mean, I hope it is. I love Silent Hill. The original was really cool. Well, the original couple was alright, but it would be nice to see it back in its former glory.
It didn't. It's interesting that this is apparently a British Silent Hill, which is obviously we've all heard the insult Minger. I'm sure anyone overseas has never heard that word before and has no idea what it means.
Yeah.
So just by virtue of that word being in the screenshot, it's obviously British. What do we think about a British style Silent Hill? Does it matter? Would it change anything? Do you think it could have any interesting elements? Do you reckon anything?
I mean, I think setting it in Britain would be a good idea. We've got some
Everything should be set in Britain.
Yeah, we've got some creepy places, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an old castle or something. Like, yeah.
I was
Or
just thinking
Parky's
like,
back garden.
yeah, central London,
Oh yeah.
Brixton,
I do live in a castle. We all know.
Brixton.
Hull, Essex,
Liverpool.
Leeds, yeah, Liverpool, anywhere really.
Liverpool.
But no,
The yellow self-storage building.
yeah, I think
IKEA.
it's definitely
IKEA.
a leak though, because why would you take it down with a copyright claim?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what gives it legitimacy for me. If someone's been copyright struck for leaking this information, then
Yeah, within hours
Konami
as
wants
well.
to obviously suppress it. Yeah.
If it was left a long time, to be honest, if they would have just left it, then there'd probably be more people saying, "Oh yeah, it's a fake." But the fact that it was very quick to be copyright claimed says
Yeah.
that
I think the
it's not
fact that it was
genuine.
copyright claimed actually brought more attention to it as well. Do you reckon, Parky?
Yeah, that if they wanted to keep it sort of quieter, then probably a bad idea to copyright claim it. But
yeah. I think we're all in some way excited about this, aren't we? Like I said, I hoped a Silent Hill announcement would be part of the Summer Games Fest. That was my prediction. It might not be part of the Summer Games Fest, but this kind of like gives me a bit of hope that shortly after saying that, these leaks came to the surface, and I was like, oh my god, yes, I knew it, called it. But also, interestingly, and this is slightly more rock solid, I guess, but a Silent Hill 2 remake is apparently in the works as well, but it's being developed by Bloober Team. Are either you familiar with Bloober Team? They're the ones behind Layers of Fear and The Medium. Two okay, I say horror games, but neither of them were very scary. Either of you encountered any of them games, or even Bloober Team themselves?
No.
No.
Well, that says it all, really. It concerns me that they're behind Silent Hill 2, because Silent Hill 2 was the best Silent Hill. And if they are remaking it, I really hope that they've got strong direction from at least Silent Hill veterans. Because Layers of Fear, it was good for a cheap indie game. It wasn't a scary horror game. It used like really cheap tricks for a horror game, so like jump scares, and then it got to the point. Like the first jump scare was scary, as it would be, but then you
Then
started
it
to be
just
able to,
becomes tedious.
yeah, and it got predictable, and you're like, oh well, something's gonna jump out at me here. Like you walk, you interact with something, you go, oh well, there's probably gonna be something behind me now. You turn around, there's something behind you. You're like, oh yeah, that was Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear 2 was pretty much the same. It did well enough at least. And then they made The Medium, which was timed exclusive on Xbox, I think, came to Xbox Game Pass day one, and then eventually made its way to the PlayStation, which again had an interesting mechanic where you had like the spirit world and the real world, and you could switch between the two, and sometimes you'd be seeing both at the same time for different gameplay mechanics, and it wasn't received very well. It wasn't scary for a quote unquote horror game. So for them to be making Silent Hill 2, which is a scary game, Silent Hill is a scary series. It has to be. Because if it isn't, then it's not Silent Hill. It has to be weird. It has to be grotesque. It has to be uncomfortable. There has to be. You have to look at things in Silent Hill and be like, oh, that makes me uneasy. And if they can't nail that, then they shouldn't be working on it. Hopefully, they will do a great job. So we'll see. But anyway, let's move on. Let's keep it snappy. Actually, no, I want to hear your thoughts. I actually want to hear your thoughts. After my description of Bloober Team, are either of you concerned?
Not
That's
really.
hard.
Not really.
No.
Okay. I am pretty pessimistic, so I don't blame you all. So let's move on to the quick news points. There was a 505 game showcase. 505 is obviously the publisher behind games like Control. So they had a showcase the other day. Sent you both a link. Kyle's definitely watched it.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to watch this, Sparky?
I did not.
Okay.
You're not missing
So,
much.
no, you're not. We'll just talk very quickly. Among the Trolls, what did you think, Kyle?
Well, I said to you, it looks like the forest, but with extra steps.
Yes.
It has that kind of
don't.
sort of, chop down a tree to get planks, and then like make wood or turn the wood into planks, and then build a house and survive. And then it added extra steps like, but you can also pan for gold in like this mini game. And it's like it's like when like MMOs had the really stupid activities that nobody ever really wants to do because it doesn't add anything to the game, but it just
But they want to
forces
level up.
you to do them. Like,
yeah, that's what it felt like. I mean, it might be alright, but I mean, it's only for Steam.
But
So.
Yeah, it's only on PC. It's set in a fantasy setting, so among the trolls is apparently a saying in Finland, is it? So it's a Finnish set game. What really irked me is that the guy was describing the main character and he was like, it's a Finnish American character. I was like, why couldn't it have just been a Finnish character? Why did it have to be an American? Every character in every game is American.
Because they speak English?
Well, yes. Finnish people can speak English. European people are smarter than we are. We've mastered English just about.
But they have to have an American
Every other
accent.
European country has mastered their own language and the English language. I just don't think the American connection was necessary, and the backstory seemed a bit poor. But anyway, I didn't like the look of Among the Trolls. I thought it looked a bit dull. So moving on, Stray Blade. What did you think of that, Carl?
It looked alright. It was like Destiny with swords. It did actually remind me of another game. I just cannot remember what it was, like for the life of me.
Kingdoms of Amalur, maybe?
No, it was more the combat reminded me of something, but I suppose it
Oh,
could have been
okay.
Kingdom of Amalur, maybe with that sort of lock-on system.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from, Destiny with swords, which is what I hoped Godfall would be, but it wasn't. Um, I felt like it kind of was reminiscent of Kingdoms of Amalur, maybe in its like graphical presentation,
Yeah,
and the combat seemed a little bit more in depth than Kingdoms of Amalur. And then obviously you got your little AI companion that does his own thing, and you can level them up and level yourself up, and it looked pretty good. I quite like the look of Strayblade. I've put it on my list of games to be interested in at the very least. Parky, you might enjoy that as well. So I'd say check that out at the very least. Just look at a trailer of it.
Cool.
Ayuden Chronicles Rising and Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. We saw mainly Ayuden Chronicles Rising. What do you think of that, Carl? Is that 2D JRPG?
uh, yeah, I'd actually quite like the look of that. I
Tell
do
me.
sort of miss those old school games. I do miss like,
Yep.
because obviously I think one of the first games I played like that was actually back in the day. It was probably like Pokemon, to be honest, where it was
Yeah.
like 2D sprites, fight your 4 moves, and then there was some other games that I played like that when I was growing up. So I think maybe ticks a box for me.
Yeah. I actually, at the top of the show, mentioned I'd bought a game, and it was Ayuden Chronicles Rising. So I've downloaded it. I'm going to start it tomorrow. It came out on the 10th of May, I think it did. It's 12 quid.
Yeah, I mean
So
you'd expect it out of a sprite-based game.
yeah. But this Ayuden Chronicles Rising is the prelude to Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes.
Okay.
So the main game is 100 Heroes, and that comes out next year, I think. So I thought, Christ, 12 quid. Yeah, why not? Get that. So I'll let you know next week how that plays.
Please do.
I will do. And Parky has no idea what we're talking about.
Not
Fair,
the
Park.
foggiest.
I think you'd like Ayuden Chronicles Rising, Parky. I think it is probably your style of game as well. So
Alright.
again, just check out a trailer. It's not very long. In fact, the whole showcase is only half an hour, and you can skip among the trolls because it's trash. Sorry. Okay. Next news point: an Atlas survey is asking whether or not it should bring Persona franchise to Xbox. Very quickly, guys, what do you think? Parky, start with you.
No.
No. Why not? They need something to play.
Yeah, but don't take that one.
Not take it, just make it available.
Take something else that nobody ever plays anymore.
Take Mario
That
Kart.
about- Yeah, there you go.
God, what do you reckon, Kyle? Do you think that Atlas should expand publishing to the Xbox platform?
If they want. I wasn't really into Persona, so it doesn't bother me, to be honest. But
Oh, I love Persona so much. I don't see why they shouldn't. I think it would be good for especially to expand their JRPG catalog, which is severely lacking, which is one of the main reasons I just haven't got much interest in Xbox. Because I mainly like JRPGs. I don't see why not. It would just improve the sales. It would improve the chance that we get a next Persona faster. It would improve the chance we get a next Persona at all, because Persona 6 has been. There's that one trailer that one time ages ago, and we haven't seen anything since. Apparently, there'll be more this year at some point. We'll see. Next point: a cancelled Scarface 2 game from 2009 has emerged online, prompting the question: where's all the Mobster games? Do you want any Mobster games, Kyle?
I played. Well, I think it was Mafia 2. I think I played, and it was all right, but it's never really been my sort of cup of tea. Although saying that, I did like LA Noire, if that counts as a mobster game.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not quite.
it's the Mobster era, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say it's a
But it's the
Mobster
other stuff.
game.
But yeah, that was a really good game. But I've never really been into the sort of. I mean, it's mostly Mafia. Mafia was the biggest of the mobster type games, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
one that suffered from its own success. Kind of like Saints Row. It went better and better, and then just crashed off a cliff.
Yeah. Well, Mafia 3 was a bit of a letdown, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I believe.
So yeah, I'm in no rush for it to return. But if it's done in the right way, I mean, there was, to be honest with you, like with the whole, I don't know if other people around the world might not be aware of the TV show, but obviously Peaky Blinders in the UK
Oh yeah,
has been
yeah,
literally
yeah.
everywhere, and it's based on mobsters. And if
Mm.
they brought out a game around that sort of time when everyone was proper into it, it might have done reasonably well in the UK and probably in the US, 'cause I think they watch it too.
Yeah, you might be right. Interestingly enough, that masquerade blood hunt thing, that battle royale that me and Parky were on about the
Yeah,
other week even, that has a can't remember his name because I don't watch Peaky Blinders, but the main character, one
Tommy
of the
Shelby.
classes, yes, one of the classes is literally just him.
Sounds about right.
Really weird. I was just like, why is this here? Anyway, Parky, what do you reckon? Mobster game? Interested?
Yeah, I mean, if they would have brought back like another LA Noir or another mobster game, I really love LA Noir. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I played it when it was like just start insulting everyone, and everything you did was terrible. It's like, oh, I want to say it, but in a slightly more obscure way. I hate you, old lady. Oh, that's not
Oh
what I
shit.
expected at all.
That's like the choices when you're playing like Dragon Age or something. You want to say like disagree, and he just like stabs you in
Flat
the
out
face.
insults them in the face. But yeah,
Dear.
I'd love another one of those. That would be great.
Yeah,
Kind of
I could
upset
go
the way
for
it ended.
yeah. I could go for another mobster game. Maybe not a licensed one. I wouldn't really be interested in a Scarface or a Godfather or a Sopranos game. That really wouldn't. I don't think I'd gel with that. But another LA Noire, another Mafia. It was that game. Oh God, what was it called? Like you were a French insurgent or something. Anyway, it existed. I promise. Um, could go for another one. Why not? I've quite enjoyed it. LA Noire especially. Mass Effect 5 story has supposedly leaked, bringing the return of Commander Shepard. Quote, Shepard and the survivors are left to pick up the pieces from the end of Mass Effect 3, end quote. Now this was like a merch posting on official BioWare website, and they very quickly changed the description to just say the survivors and deleted Shepard, because this would follow the destruction ending of Mass Effect 3, and I won't go too much into detail because spoilers.
Yep.
But if everything has been destroyed and blown up and there's survivors picking up the pieces, it would make that ending, that specific ending, canon. But it would also mean that Shepard's not dead, which I suppose is a spoiler, but there's no other way around it, else we can't talk about this. So have BioWare accidentally just spoiled Mass Effect 5? And I say Mass Effect 5 because Andromeda did exist. It wasn't very good, but it exists. That's technically the fourth one. So we might be seeing a return to the Shepard storyline. Shepard's not dead. What do you think? Kyle, are you a Mass Effect fan?
Not a fan, but I've played them.
Mhm.
And no, he's not dead.
Okay. Lucky.
Didn't play it.
What?
Ooh,
Didn't play it. Yeah.
You
this
should.
is
You
rare.
should. I know. You need to get the Legendary Edition. Is it called Legendary Edition? I've already forgotten. Remasters of all three. Very good. As long as you've got about 900 hours to spare. Um, I loved Mass Effect so much. It was so good. When it first came out, I was like, ugh, that looks shit. But then I realized, looking back, I was just a PlayStation fanboy that couldn't afford an Xbox. And then it finally came to PlayStation. I was like, oh yeah, actually, Mass Effect is awesome.
Yeah.
I remember being really salty when Dragon Age 2 released, because Dragon Age 2 is like a really copy and paste experience. So dungeons are all just the same, but the rooms were jigged about. I was like, oh, this is all Mass Effect's fault. They spent all their money on Mass Effect 2 instead of Dragon Age 2. I was just being a little bitch. And then I finally played the games. And I was like, actually, yeah, Mass Effect's fucking awesome. So I'm really looking forward to Mass Effect 5. I really want it to come. I really hope it continues the Shepard storyline, because Andromeda was balls. Anyway, it brings us to the closing segment of the show, where we whip through lightning fast the game releases for the week beginning of the 16th.
Pow pow.
So pow pow. So we've got Endzone: A World Apart, Distant Places DLC. That's on PC, May 17th. Gloomhaven: Jaws of the Lion DLC. Oof, a lot of DLC. That's on PC as well, May 17th. Deadcraft: PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on May 19th. Endzone: A World Apart Survivor Edition. That's on PS5 and Xbox Series X on May 19th. I'm not sure what the difference between that and the PC DLC is. No idea. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. That's PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, May 19th. I believe this has been in the works for a long time now, so interesting to see that finally coming out. Cotton Fantasy, PS4 and Switch, May 20th. That sounds like something like, I don't know, oh god, what's that? Stardew Valley. For some reason, it just brings Stardew Valley vibes. I'm not sure what it is though. The Endless Summer: Search for Surf. I was going to say Smurf then. I thought it was a Smurf game. Search for Surf. PC, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, May 20th, and that's it. It's a quiet week for releases. Closing comments. Kyle, what do you want to finish with? What do you want to say to the good people?
Now that you mention it, I would like to see another Smurfs game. I don't know when the last time we had a good Smurfs game was.
Yeah. Smurf on.
Smurf off.
When was the last time we had a Smurfs game?
When was the
Smurfs
last
Village
time
was
we
on
had this?
Google Play. Or on the App
I
Store.
don't think I've ever encountered a Smurfs game.
October 26th, 2021, that looks about right. The
Smurfs game
Mission
PS4, the Smurfs Mission Relief.
Relief, yeah, that's the one. It looks like the latest game.
Oh, that looks horrendous.
That looks alright actually. That looks like your old school kind of.
It came out
Rayman.
last year.
Yeah. They're still making Smurf games.
What the fuck? Oh,
I mean, that looks like some easy.
it came out on disc for PC. No. Right, okay, before we get down this rabbit hole, Parky.
It's on the PS4.
Bring back the Smurfs game.
So, it's 30 quid. And it looks like it could be an easy
leave it
platinum.
where it was.
Oh god. Oh, quickly before we continue with these closing comments, have either of you looked at the PS Plus lineup? There's been the released games for PS Plus. I'd highly recommend anyone listening to go and check it out. They look all right. Like Demon Souls is included as part of the subscription. Entire list of all first-party games and third-party games. Interestingly, Death Stranding is listed as a first-party game, which would suggest that Kojima Studios is a first-party studio. It's not, because they don't own Kojima Studios, or do they? Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave you that conspiracy, because we've already had that discussion of whether Kojima's lying to our faces until the acquisition's complete. I reckon he is. Parky, back to your closing comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring out Tomba.
It's I'm pretty sure it's part of the classic game lineup.
Oh, I hope so. And I hope they don't do something stupid with it.
That's another thing. You can subscribe for these classic games. You can also just buy them. You don't even need to subscribe. So
Yeah.
it seems as though PlayStation Classics are coming back to the PlayStation Store the first time since the PS3, which is great news. I don't really have any closing comments. I'm too tired. Can't function. I can't even read. It's been so hard. Oh my god. This screen's too bright and my eyes hurt. I've got a headache.
Everything's closing down.
Everything's shutting down. I might not even survive the night. Who knows? I'm not even gonna go and play games. I'm gonna go to bed because I'm tired. I'm an old man now. I can't cope.
Old man Stu.
Everything hurts. My back is
Oh,
actually quite
dear.
sore.
6
Oh,
o'clock.
6 o'clock
He's going to be
bedtime. Get that
dribbling his
blanket.
soup later on.
As long as it's not too hot. Oh dear, really took me out of that. Really took it out of me, that Phil Spencer impression.
Yeah, too much.
Oh dear, these closing comments
Right.
have got downhill.
Right. Oh, I just laughed so hard I fired.
And with that, then,
And on that note, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Parky, for joining me. It's been a pleasure as always.
thank you, gents.
Ta-da! Been a
Bye.
pleasure.
Ta-da. Bye.